Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the multidisciplinary artist known as Proxima Centauri B. And in today's episode, we're going to be exploring the cyberpunk subgenre. We're also going to discuss, of course, the format of the portraits. Let's just jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, we see what appears to be a subject set inside profile. Yes, of course, in the format of the portrait. Not directly looking at us, kind of to the side, but a little bit tilted toward us as well. This is the introduction to Proxima. We'll talk a little bit more about who this figure may or may not be near the end. Of course, the format of the portrait here is likely something you've seen before, right? It depicts a subject from the shoulders up. That's what we would call the bust of the figure. Typically a very intimate proximity to the subject as well. You're going to be face to face. The eyes are going to be directly in front of you. Typically very realistic as well. Also, they typically depict the subject how that person wants to be represented, whether they have a library behind them, whether they are in a cyberpunk aesthetic. All of those typically go into how that figure is trying to be presented and, yes, remembered as their legacy. And in this work, we also see these various lines, right? They create a sense of visual rhythm. They are quite ordered, as in they are evenly spaced one after another, but, the nature of these lines are almost reminiscent of water droplets in a way that creates kind of a wild visual rhythm going from vertically, of course, up and down. But when we go side to side, that's a lot more ordered. Of course, they are evenly spaced. And, they do create this impact on the visual experience because there's so many of them. Our subject is behind them, almost like a jail cell in a way. I think that's pretty interesting. You also see the colors in this composition, right? We have black, we have purple, and we have blue. This creates what we call an analogous color scheme, pretty close to one another on the color wheel. This creates a very balanced visual experience, quite harmonious as well. And of course, I got to ask you guys, how do y'all feel when you view this work, or what comes to mind when you're viewing this work in that first and initial impression? Of course, the aesthetic here is quite dark, right? You have that deep blue, you have that, neon purplish pink, but it is quite deep as well. And then of course you have that black aside from that. Of course, this creates a very dark visual experience, and this is part of the cyberpunk subgenre of science fiction. Of course, it is always pictured with a dystopia, and a dystopia is a world of oppression, typically a very advanced, technological surveillance state that completely erases the identity of the individual. The use of technology is incredibly important in the cyberpunk subgenre. We see this in so many different places. Perhaps one of the most popular is going to be Blade Runner. Of course, this technology is very important, whether it's used for surveillance, whether it's used for any type of oppressive technique by the state. That's all very important when you're trying to understand the cyberpunk subgenre. But the cyberpunk is incredibly important and popular now. So many different people really love this aesthetic, whether it's influence in, movies like we previously discussed. Of course, it has a very deep, sci-fi history when it comes to books, but there's also elements of fashion as well. We're talking about things like tech gear, that cyberpunk aesthetic. A lot of people have seen the influence and impact of the cyberpunk subgenre across all domains of art, entertainment, and, a lot more, right? We look at a subject like this, it's hard to say who or what this is, right? Almost appears like a cyborg in a way. We have this technological visor, quite advanced, and certainly the most energetic element in the composition at hand, right? That glow, that neon energy, of course, that creates a visual energy that's going to catch your eye time and time again. I think that's so important to the work at hand. But like I said, it's hard to know who or what this subject is. Perhaps she is a cyborg. And I say she because we do see, a much more feminine profile, perhaps even, much more shiny lips, perhaps wearing makeup of some kind or another, longer hair. That is why I refer to this subject as feminine. But it's hard to say who or what they are, or even what gender they are at the end of the day. It's hard to say for sure. But regardless, I extend the question to you guys. What do y'all see when you view this piece, or who do you think this subject may be? Of course, like I said, this work is so important to the cyberpunk subgenre. Very dystopian, very dark aesthetic, and we certainly see that in the display at hand. And technology can be, multivariate in many different ways. For some, they waste their time all day, but for others, they really use it as a tool to advance their knowledge, to reach more people. So technology can certainly be a double-edged sword in that respect. But with those comes an opportunity, right? If you use this technology to its utmost benefit, you can certainly reap that and live a much more productive, happy, and yes, efficient life. And, some people see technology as a burden. Others see technology as something where, they can actually protect their privacy instead of giving it away with things like cryptography, with things like decentralized servers. There are so many different things you can mention when it comes to the two dual natures of technology, but such as so many different things, right? You can use tools for advent, or you can use tools for danger. danger. Just like a blade, you can use it to cut a meal, serve it to your family, or you could use it to attack. And so in that respect, technology needs to be viewed in that way as well, in my view, at the end of the day. But really hope y'all enjoyed. The cyberpunk subgenre, like I said, is just so popular, so much influence, it's hard to really overstate that. But once again, wanted to ask you guys, what do y'all see when you view this work, or how do you feel when you view this work? The piece before us is part of an AI generative art program that is going to be DALL-E 2. Actually, right when it first released, I believe in 2022, extremely popular. Since then, AI generative art has really taken the world by storm. Almost 2 years we are approaching here where DALL-E 2 was released, and since then OpenAI, from ChatGPT to DALL-E, multiple iterations are actually on DALL-E 3 now. All of these are incredibly impactful in the AI generative space. So if you want to get involved in the world of the AI generative art medium, certainly check out OpenAI. You know, it is not free to use DALL-E 2, at least, or DALL-E 3. I'm not sure. At the time I used it, which was a few months back, I still had to pay for credits. But regardless, if y'all can get involved in the world of AI generative art, there's going to be so many different places to do that. But the original artist here really is a master of the AI generative medium. This artist creates mixed media works of ever increasing complexity. So always a pleasure to study Proxima Centauri B. Once again, really hope you'll enjoy today. We talked about so many different things, from the format of the portrait, the color analysis of this work. We talked about this visual rhythm of these strange lines within the work at hand. We talked about the overall dark aesthetic, the cyberpunk subgenre, so many different things we hit on today. I really hope you'll enjoy it. If y'all did, go check out the original artist Proxima Centauri B. That's all I have for today. Really hope y'all enjoyed today, and go check out the original artist. My name's Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.